Welcome back. I am going to make arguments both for and against trading Patrick Laine. So, again, the agents of Patrick Laine saying it might be mutually beneficial if the player gets traded. Somewhere Kevin Cheveldayoff read that and said, if you guys would just knock it off. So, he's 22 years of age and, of course, famously the number 2 draft pick in 2016 after Austin Matthews. And ever since then, it's all been just crazy in terms of how much things change and how quickly. So 2016-2017, he's fourth in goals per game in the entire National Hockey League. 73 games, 36 goals, 28 assists, 64 points. He's second in the Calder race. He's in the All-Star game, and he had 3 hat tricks that year. When Laine is on, he looks like the best goal scorer in the league, not named Ovechkin. He is absolutely fantastic. I'm including Pastrnak in that list as well. And yet, there have been times where, and I don't know if it's motivation, I don't know what it is, but there's been issues. So 17-18, he ends up fourth in goals per game again. 82 games, 44 goals, 26 assists, 70 points. 20 power play goals. Count them, 20. First in the National Hockey League. But this is where we start getting the conversation about how is he 5-on-5? How does he look defensively? What are his numbers like when he's away from the puck? Like, I'm not a huge advanced stats guy, but there are some fascinating advanced stats when it comes to Laine, especially last year, 2018, 2019. 82 games, 30 goals, 20 assists, 50 points. Everything seemed to bottom out for him. And if you love Laine, it's because the coach wasn't using him right. If you don't like Laine, it's because the coach wasn't going to reward him for bad play. 15 power play goals, 8th in the National Hockey League in that, and 3 hat tricks, including a 5-goal game that he had. So, when you look at that, so that's 3, 6, 11 of his 30 goals scored over a 3-game period. And really, really strong feast or famine when it comes to Patrick Laine. Again, when he's great, he's absolutely one of the best goal scorers in the game. When he's off, well, he can be really off. And he can lead to a lot of high danger opportunities in your own zone. And whether you say that's his fault or, well, he's an offensive player, it's really not on him. It means they're deploying him incorrectly. That's the whole debate we've had raging on. So the conversation about whether or not he belongs on the first line, and there were a lot of slams towards Brian Little that were going on that I didn't like. I thought Brian Little was solid, and I didn't think it was his fault Laine wasn't scoring 50 in a year. This year, 68 games played, 28 goals, 35 assists, 63 points. And while his goals per game are still relatively high, it's not all that his game was this year. This year, he started passing the puck a lot more. This year, he was a lot more selfless, I thought. I thought this was his best year. Now, here, where things get interesting is he's got 138 goals in 305 games, 109 assists for 247 points. I can say right now, yeah, Laine's a 50-goal scorer. He's never hit 50 goals. He hit 44, that's the highest he's been. There's a 36-goal season, 30-goal season, and this year in the pause-shortened season, he had 28 goals. So, when I say 50 goal scorers, because I'm assuming he's going to get that consistency, that he is going to be able to pick up his pace for a whole 82-game season, and that there will be some 50-goal seasons to be had. Kevin Cheveldayoff, right now, looking at this picture, has to say, okay, we've got a guy whose contract's up next year. He's already been kind of grumbly, and whether it's real or imagined or whatever it is, it would appear that he wants first-line minutes. And if you look at the Winnipeg Jets, you've got Connor, Scheifele, and Wheeler on that first line. I have made this argument for years. Laine doesn't have to be on the first line. Most teams don't just have one scoring line. Most teams, especially if you're going to be a contender, you'll have up to 3 scoring lines. But you'll at the very least have a top 6 that's very capable. Now this year, you got to pencil in Stastny between. You have to pencil in Laine or Stastny in between Laine and Ehlers. But let's just say they trade Laine. Do you have to get a top 6 forward back? Yes. Kopp, Vesalainen could potentially slip into that top 6 spot if they don't. I like Andrew Kopp. I'd rather see him on the third line. And Vesalainen has not shown that he can be an NHL producer yet. So you're not going to throw him into a top 6 role right out of camp and go, boy, we hope he can replace Laine, because that's unrealistic. So they kind of have to get a top 6 forward back, and this is where it gets difficult. You're now going to a general manager and saying, hey, you know Laine? And they go, yeah, he's the one that's really unhappy, right? Yeah, that's overblown by the media, but we've got him on the market. All right, so we want one of your top 6 forwards. That's going to be kind of dicey. Isn't his contract up at the end of next year? Yep. He makes $6.75 million. That's his cap hit. Absolutely. But his salary for the 2020-2021 season is $7.5 million. Now, the reason that that's notable is he's a restricted free agent. They have to qualify him at $7.5 million. Your starting point with Laine next year is $7.5 million. And that's where the question mark comes in. And you're asking this question if you're Winnipeg as well. That you're saying, you know, we'd like to extend our contract with Laine. We'd like to keep him around because we think he's going to be a great goal scorer. But does he justify $7.5 million right now? In the current economic uncertainty, what team is going to take on $7.5 million minimum for him for the following season? And I would not say that Laine next year is necessarily going to say, oh, yeah, 7.5 sounds about right. He may want 8.5. He may want 9. He may look at what a Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, what these guys are making, and he might say, hey, maybe I'm worth that. And this is the uncertainty, right? So for Cheveldayoff, I have no way of knowing if he's negotiated at all with Laine, even, reached out. But based on what the agents are saying, probably not. I think we can assume it's probably not a situation where Cheveldayoff has sat down with Laine's agents and said, hey, so Mike Liut, we want to extend our contract. We were thinking about, the starting point is $7.5 million. How do you feel about $8 million over 4 years? And, you call Laine. I don't think any of that's happened. But so if you're Winnipeg, you're kind of stuck. You might be looking at a year down the road, Laine going, well, I'm not reporting to camp in Winnipeg. You guys are going to have to trade me. So, and again, this is the part we don't know. This is the part we're not sure of. But when an agent comes out and says it might be better for the team and the player if we have a divorce, that's a warning sign. Now, their blue line, you have Morrissey, DeMello, Forbert, Pionk, Beaulieu, Pullman. Sandberg could potentially get into that lineup. And Sami Niku. I have stars next to Niku the same as Laine because there were rumors that Niku might be on the block. Now, do you trade them together? Probably not. But it's interesting because the reason I have their defense on here, they need another top 4 defenseman. Now, if you're going to trade Laine and you're going to try to hit a home run with this, you might say, all right, so we're going to bring in a forward. Okay, so we're going to trade you Laine. We're going to bring in a forward. Can we have one of your top 4 defensemen? How many teams in the NHL right now are in a position to take on the potential issues with Laine? Again, potential. Because we just don't know. This is all the speculation that runs wild. And that would do that and that would hand you a defenseman and a top 6 forward to do it. And there aren't very many teams, I think, that can afford to do that. Now, if you're the Jets, you could say, all right, well, we'll take a top 4 defenseman and a first-round draft pick. 2 first-round draft picks. The thing about that, again, is your top 6 is going to be notably weakened. And we saw a couple months ago, I want to say last season, but it was a couple months ago, we saw against the Flames that when Laine and Scheifele got hurt, the Jets just didn't have any punch. They didn't have what they needed in order to score goals. So you can't be in a position to be weakening your top 6 after you brought in Stastny to strengthen your top 6. If you're going to move Laine, you kind of want to fix the defensive issue as well, because there isn't anybody left on the free agent market that's going to be top 4. Forbert in the top 4 is the reason why I put up 8 guys, because I think Beaulieu might be better off in that top 4. Maybe Tucker Pullman gets into a top 4 spot. I have no idea. I have no idea how this blue line plays out. All I know is for them to be considered an actual contender to the Cup, this still needs work. And in a Laine trade, you can try to fix that. Now, it's possible. You move Laine, you bring in a defenseman, you get a couple of picks, and you sign Mike Hoffman to take that spot. You say, all right, Hoffman's coming in, we'll play him on the left side. Maybe you play him on the right, you play Ehlers on the left side. Have fun with it. But then you have a legit top six. But again, you have to have that agreement with Hoffman first, and you have to have Hoffman willing to go to Winnipeg. And this is going to be a really, really tough situation. This is why when people say, well, you could just trade Laine, and I see, the trade proposals, and well, could you just do this and this? It's not that easy, because you've got a guy that as Winnipeg, he's going to get better than this in all likelihood. His goal totals are going to go up. His point totals are going to go up. You're trading him while his value may not be as high as it's going to get. His contract is up next year, so they don't have to trade him now. They really don't. Even after what the agent said, they don't have to trade him, because if they can't improve other parts of the roster, they're better off not trading him and dealing with it a year from now when he says, well, I'm not re-signing in Winnipeg. Deal with that when you get there. And try to go for it this year. Hellebuck is in his prime. Scheifele's in his prime. Kyle Connor's fantastic. And Blake Wheeler, the guy that's on this jersey, he is near that point in your career where you can expect diminishing totals and diminishing returns. And then you may be in more trouble if you're Winnipeg if you've already traded Laine. If you trade Laine, you don't improve your top six, and then Wheeler shows signs of starting to have that decline that players get when they get older, you've just severely weakened your team now and likely for the future if you don't have a top six guy to step in. And I'm well aware that at number 10 in the draft, they got Perfetti. That was great. That's going to be fantastic, but he's not NHL projectable this year. Perfetti should jump into the NHL next season. But for this year, which is the one we're dealing with, not very likely. So I'm not sure how you make this work, both as trying to trade him or trying to keep him. And I understand that this is going to be a huge driver for all kinds of articles and videos and all kinds of proposals. You'll notice I'm not putting proposals together. I'm just telling you, as Shovel Day Off, I'm either trying to add multiple firsts, I'm trying to add a top six forward to replace Laine, and a defenseman, and at that point I'm not worried about first round draft picks. Or I try to sign somebody for the top six, bring in a top four defenseman and trade for Laine, and add the draft picks with that. But it's not going to be easy. So this is why when people say, GMs and this guy should be fired and that guy should be fired, it is really hard. Being a general manager in the league is really difficult because teams don't just walk in and go, hey, so we understand you got this problem with Laine and him wanting to stay. Why don't we help you out? We're going to take Laine. We'll give you, did you want 3 defensemen? We'll give you 3 defensemen. That doesn't happen. So, we'll see what they do. And hopefully sanity prevails. Hopefully the huge speculative stuff that goes on hopefully starts to fade a little bit. It's just when I see these really unrealistic proposals, I'm like, I don't know who believes those rumors. That's not happening. That's not happening. But we'll see. We'll see where he goes. I know Philadelphia was in talks for him. And again, you could debate about whether or not they have a top 6 forward and a defenseman they'd part with, or a top 6 forward and multiple first-round draft picks. When you start talking about multiple first-round draft picks, which he's worth, because he could be a 50-goal scorer, you have to make sure that your team isn't being weakened in that deal, because those first-round draft picks can come back to haunt you. Ask San Jose and ask Ottawa. When you're giving away first-round draft picks in years, say 2 years down the road, and you're going, well, that's not going to hurt us now, it can really hurt later. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.